Ask someone what time it is, and they glance at a phone. Ask an early human the same question 60,000 years ago, and they'd point at the sky, or the shadow at their feet, or the swelling curve of the moon. Here's the twist, though. We tend to imagine our ancestors as clueless about time, fumbling in some vague, day blurs into night existence. That's wrong. Some of the earliest evidence of abstract human thought isn't a spear or a cave painting. It's a calendar. Why does this even matter? Because tracking time isn't just convenient, it's survival. Knowing when the rains would come, when the herds would migrate, when the fruit would ripen, meant the difference between a full belly and starvation. Time wasn't an abstract concept for early humans. It was food on the table. And figuring out how they cracked this problem takes us through bone carvings, shadow tracking, moon watching, and one seriously controversial artifact that might be 60,000 years older than anyone expected. Let's start with the body itself, because the very first clock humans ever used wasn't something they built. It was something they were born with. Circadian rhythms, the internal biological clock that regulates sleep and wakefulness, exist in nearly every living organism, humans included. Early Homo sapiens didn't need a device to know it was time to sleep. Their bodies told them, tuned by millions of years of evolution to the rising and setting sun. But a body clock only gets you through a single day. It says nothing about tomorrow, or next season, or when the migrating antelope herds might return. For that, early humans needed something else entirely. They needed to track cycles bigger than a day, and the sky offered the perfect tool. The moon was likely humanity's first real calendar. Its phases repeat with clockwork reliability, waxing and waning roughly every 29.5 days. And here's where things get genuinely fascinating. In 1960, archaeologist Jean de Heinzelin uncovered a small bone tool in the Democratic Republic of Congo, near Lake Edward, now known as the Ashango bone. Carved into it are rows of notches, grouped in specific, non-random patterns. For decades, researchers debated what these marks meant. Some thought it was a simple tally stick, but paleoanthropologist Alexander Marshak, using microscopic analysis, proposed something bolder. That the groupings mirrored lunar cycles, meaning the Ashango bone might be one of the earliest known attempts to record time itself. Not everyone agrees with Marshak's lunar interpretation, and the debate continues today. But if he's right, humans were tracking the moon's rhythm as far back as 20,000 years ago, and that raises an unsettling question. If people were counting moons that long ago, how far back does our relationship with time actually go? Further back than you'd think, according to some researchers. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists including Christopher Henshelwood and Francesco D'Errico uncovered pieces of ochre engraved with deliberate cross-hatched patterns, dated to roughly 75,000 years ago. These aren't calendars in any literal sense, but they reveal something crucial: the cognitive capacity for abstract, symbolic marking. And that capacity is the exact same mental toolkit needed to track days, moons, and seasons. Once humans could think symbolically, encoding time became a matter of when, not if. So the moon gave humans a monthly rhythm. But what about the bigger picture, the wheel of the seasons? That's where the sun stepped back in, not just as a body clock, but as a giant, slow-moving instrument. Around 5,000 years ago in Egypt, and independently in other river valley civilizations, people began using shadow clocks and obelisks to divide the day into segments based on the sun's position. But long before formal sundials, early humans were almost certainly reading shadows instinctively, watching where the light fell to judge whether it was time to hunt, gather, or head home before dark. And then there's Nabta Playa, a remarkable megalithic site in the Egyptian desert, dated to around 4800 BCE, predating Stonehenge by centuries. Researchers, including astrophysicist J. McKim Malville, found that stone slabs at the site align with the summer solstice sunrise. That's not an accident. That's engineering, built by people tracking the solar year with startling precision, likely to predict the seasonal rains that turn the surrounding desert briefly fertile. If Neolithic communities could align stones to the solstice, doesn't that mean their sense of time was already more sophisticated than we usually give them credit for? It gets even more human when you look at how modern hunter-gatherer societies handle this today, since their methods likely echo ancient practices. Among the Jew Hoansi-San people of the Kalahari Desert, studied extensively by anthropologists like Richard Lee, time isn't measured in hours or minutes. It's measured in tasks, in the height of the sun, in the specific behavior of plants and animals that signal a change of season. There's no single universal clock. There's an intimate, detailed relationship with the environment, one so precise that season trackers can judge time of day within minutes just from shadow length and animal activity. This suggests early humans didn't need abstract numbers to have an incredibly refined sense of time. They needed attention. And that's the real reframe here. We tend to think of timekeeping as something that started primitive and became sophisticated only with clocks and calendars. But the deeper truth is almost the opposite. Long before written numbers, before mechanical devices, before anyone had a word for hour, humans were already reading time fluently, just written in a different language. Shadows, stars, moon phases, animal migrations, plant blooms. It wasn't a lesser system. It was a different alphabet entirely, one etched into bones and stone and memory instead of gears. So the next time you glance at your phone to check the time, consider this. You're doing something your ancestors were already doing 60,000 years ago, just with a screen instead of the sky. The tools changed completely. The impulse never did. And once you start noticing how much of the natural world is quietly, constantly telling time all around you, it's hard to stop wondering what else it's been trying to say.